Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I'm super excited you're here today because we are diving into a topic that is literally reshaping the entire digital landscape. We're going to unpack why modern cloud architecture is becoming incredibly complex, and more importantly, how this very complexity is opening up some terrifying new cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Today, we're breaking down the shift to the multi-cloud, we'll uncover exactly where those hidden dangers lie, and we'll show you how to lock it all down.
But before we begin, please press the like button and the subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing you these deep dive explainers, taking these massive, complex systems and translating them into clear, actionable insights. Done? Awesome. Let's get right into it.
I want you to consider this for just a second. What would actually happen if your primary cloud infrastructure suffered a devastating breach tomorrow? It's a pretty alarming thought, isn't it? I mean, these cloud platforms bring unbelievable flexibility and cost efficiency to businesses, but they also introduce massive new vulnerabilities. If a breach happened tomorrow, sensitive data could be completely exposed, your operations could grind to a halt, and reputations could be ruined overnight. So the crucial point for us today is understanding the specific challenges of today's cloud security and figuring out how we can better protect our most sensitive data well before that breach ever happens.
Okay, let's jump straight into Section 1. Welcome to the multi-cloud and why it's the new default.
You've definitely noticed more and more companies adopting aggressive cloud strategies lately, right? It's pretty much becoming the logical move to stay competitive in a hyper-connected world. Businesses just aren't using a single provider anymore. They are aggressively deploying heterogeneous multi-cloud environments. And the goal here isn't just about having backup systems. It's really about avoiding vendor lock-in and leveraging the absolute best-of-breed tools for specific workloads. Maybe that's AWS for raw computing power, but then GCP for machine learning. Basically, businesses are intentionally putting their eggs in different baskets to unlock maximum flexibility, scaling power, and cost optimization.
But here is where the problem starts. Let's move to Section 2, the complexity trap, looking at best-of-breed versus fragmentation.
The contrast we're looking at here is totally stark. The legacy single-vendor setup, it offered a unified, much simpler perimeter, but today's multi-cloud reality is this highly fragmented web of interconnected systems, and this is the ultimate double-edged sword. This complex, intricate network is exactly why cloud complexity is now actively outpacing our security defenses. Digital security specialists are literally struggling to keep up with an infrastructure that is fundamentally decentralized and shifting all the time.
Which brings us to the really dangerous part. Section 3, IAM and data breaches, diving into the vulnerabilities.
I want to highlight this quote directly from our source material because it really hits the nail on the head. Even a small misconfiguration may lead to massive exposure. With sensitive information stored across all these multiple platforms, your margin for error is essentially zero. Think about an incorrectly set public storage bucket. Just one single wrong setting, and suddenly proprietary data is out there, accessible to completely unauthorized users. And this brilliantly illustrates the human element of all this. These massive issues most often pop up simply from human error, or just a lack of deep expertise with these specific, wildly varying cloud-native tools.
And that perfectly tees up the massive headache that is IAM, or Identity and Access Management. Now, you already know how absolutely critical IAM is to security. But imagine trying to stitch together IAM policies across AWS, Azure, maybe a private cloud, all utilizing completely different rule sets and UI schemas. It's a logistical nightmare. This friction creates huge security gaps. We're talking about overprivileged accounts where users end up with access to things they absolutely shouldn't have, or orphan credentials from former employees just sitting active in the system, practically begging hackers to exploit them.
All this fragmentation leads to what we call the blind spot, which is a severe lack of real-time visibility. Another major reason why cloud complexity is outpacing security defenses is just the sheer difficulty of finding comprehensive threat detection tools. When your infrastructure spans entirely different cloud platforms, finding one unified tool that seamlessly monitors everything in real time is an incredible challenge for any cyber team. And honestly, it gets even worse when you consider just how many disparate APIs are interacting between these clouds, very often operating entirely within this blind spot.
And while security teams are struggling with visibility, the bad actors are definitely not sitting still. Cybercriminals are constantly evolving their tactics. And the really scary part, they are weaponizing the exact same agility that businesses seek from the cloud. They're basically using cloud speed against us. We're seeing a massive prevalence of ransomware, super sophisticated phishing campaigns specifically targeting cloud accounts, and highly damaging supply chain attacks.
Putting your eggs in different baskets boosts your resilience, for sure, but managing these diverse platforms gets incredibly tricky without a cohesive strategy.
So, how do we actually fix this mess? Let's move to our final section, the Zero Trust solution, and how we go about locking down the cloud.
Now that we know exactly why cloud security struggles to keep up, we have to focus on solutions. The absolute core of the remediation strategy here is the Zero Trust model. For a multi-cloud setup, this goes way beyond simple perimeter defense. It means continuous, granular authentication of every single user, device, and microservice. This minimizes the blast radius if an attacker actually does manage to breach the outer wall. By constantly demanding verification no matter where a request originates, you actively choke out the potential entry points for attackers.
Implementing this really requires a three-pronged attack. First, it starts with adopting that strict zero-trust architecture right across the board. But you have to pair that with unified cloud governance. You need to standardize your policies across all your providers to kill those deadly misconfigurations we talked about earlier, which, by the way, are still one of the leading causes of breaches. And third, crucially, you have to invest in human infrastructure through training. Because let's face it, the most sophisticated firewall in the world won't stop an untrained employee from clicking a clever phishing link and triggering a total cascade of security failures.
Which leaves us with this final critical question to consider. Are your eggs protected in every basket? Look, we know that spreading out across a multi-cloud architecture is just the reality of modern business today. It's absolutely necessary for growth and flexibility. But as we've seen throughout this explainer, without unified governance, zero-trust security, and a highly trained team, that flexibility quickly becomes a massive liability. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep this question in mind as you review your own systems, and I will see you next time.